It's fortunate that we do have a couple of smaller dealerships in the area now. So it's not all bad news, but I think there has to be a concerted effort before we can really start gaining health in the economic sector. And if we don't have that, we don't have a strong political base, we're in real trouble.
You know, you talk about the power of the dollar in the African-American community and et cetera. And you've done a lot of research in reference to that. And what about advertising? I mean, one of the things that you do with the newspaper is to advertise. Now, what are some of the problems, some of the challenges that you're finding in that area today?
Well, I think that, you know, not to really put a lot of emphasis on racial differences, but you have to look at reality. And the fact
well, that's why you have an African-American press. You know.
To explain that, to bring those nuances out. Is that, for instance, there are only 2 FM stations owned by African-Americans now in the state of Tennessee, and both of those in West Tennessee. So there's less respect for, I guess, black-owned media. They feel that they can do everything they need to do through white media that owns the 92Qs, the 101s. So you aren't really doing business with a black business when you do business with those stations, those places. So they have come in and bought up the media, almost a monopoly, and raised the price. So we have to fight for what's left. So to give you an idea, $3.7 billion should support an advertising of about $75 million a year. So we only, if you added up all the African-American media together, we get probably about 1% of that, 1 to 2%.
1 or 2% of all of that.
All of that money, yeah. That's available for cultivating a black community, a black demographic.
Now, that seems to be really, what's the problem there? I mean, it seems to me to be, on the face of it, it looks to be unfair. But
well, that's a part of that deregulation. Companies no longer have to be affirmative. Radio stations, television stations, none of it. And they could care less about who owns what. So they come in, that's why Sam Howard found it more feasible to sell his station than to run it, because it was getting more expensive and he couldn't compete. I think when he sold his radio station, it was doing about $4 million a year. Now they're probably doing about $15 million a year under the white ownership. So they can come in, promote, and eliminate competition and do that. So we have to really fight.
Okay. Okay. For every dollar you get, you have to really.
And that includes from black-owned businesses.
And for the most part, your clientele really has gone somewhere else. It has been co-opted.
Well, I don't think we see the value of doing business with each other right now.
Okay, very good. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. I thought it's about time to break. But in a real sense, the last 20 seconds that we have here, I know, in a real sense, that's a problem when you talk about deregulation. Deregulation did not only affect the banks and all of those corporate entities, but it also had an impact upon what you were doing and what the African-American media was doing. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, very much so.
And of course, we're going to take our second commercial break, and when we come back, I want you to talk about that.
Okay.
And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.
To lead productive and